Leo Dehon was born on March 14, 1843 in La Capelle in France into a well-off family. As a young boy, he grew up in a religious atmosphere and was influenced very much by his mother's devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. As a high school student, he experienced a strong attraction to the priesthood. Upon graduation he planned to enter the seminary. Unfortunately, his father had other plans for him and sent him to study law at Sorbonne University in Paris. Here, at the age of 21, he obtained the degree of Doctor in Civil Law. His father, wanting him to forget about his vocation completely, offered his son a long trip to the Middle East, which included 2 weeks in the Holy Land. Leo was delighted to be able to walk in the homeland of Jesus. Finally, his father gave up, and in October 1865, Leo entered the French seminary in Rome. His ordination to the priesthood on December 19, 1868, was the fulfillment of a long-time dream, with the additional joy of giving communion to his father, who had returned to the practice of the faith. His first assignment was to serve as a stenographer at the First Vatican Council. Armed with 3 more doctorates, one each in philosophy, theology, and church law, he returned to his home diocese of Soissons. He was appointed to serve in the parish in Saint Quentin. The town had a population of about 35,000, most of whom were so poor that they were barely able to earn their daily bread. The majority of the people were nominally Catholic, but few of them went to church or saw a priest. Father Dehon saw that the church was losing the people because its pastoral methods were out of touch with reality. He knew that it was not enough to simply celebrate Mass and administer the sacraments. The priest had to get out of the sacristy and go to the people. He began by organizing a youth group. At first, only a handful of teenagers were involved, but in a few years, the group had its own building and playgrounds for over 400 active members. At St. Joseph's Youth Club, the youth could play games and participate in sports. A lending library brought books and magazines into homes that could not afford them. A savings bank initiated them into the ways of money management. Remedial and supplementary classes were offered. Each week he gave them a talk about one of his journeys or presented the life of a saint as a role model for them to imitate. The day ended in the chapel with evening prayer or benediction of the Blessed Sacrament. After the success of the youth club, he turned his attention to young adults, the 18 to 25-year-olds who were just starting out in the work world. He taught them about their rights as workers, encouraged them to save for the future, and instructed them in the ideals of Christian marriage. Bringing workers and factory owners together, he initiated a dialogue that eventually led to better economic and social conditions for employees. Founded a Catholic newspaper. At the age of 33, Father Dehon found all of life smiling on him. His ministries were a success. The bishop held him in high esteem, but he himself was not happy. His many youth programs, together with his regular duties at the parish, exacted a toll on his spiritual life. The busyness of his public ministries left him little time to deepen his spiritual life. First, he thought to join a religious order as a way to strengthen his union with the Lord, but as soon as this idea surfaced, it hit up against the hard reality that no one was available to carry on his new ministries. He discussed his dilemma with the bishop, who proved to be sympathetic and offered him a way to resolve the matter. He would allow Father Dehon to establish his own religious congregation, if in turn Father Dehon would also establish a Catholic high school in the city. In this way, the bishop would get his high school, while Father Dehon would be able to live his life as a religious, and the new congregation he was founding would care for the ministries he had already established. In July 1877, Father Dehon simultaneously began a new high school and entered into a year of intense preparation to give shape and direction to his new religious congregation. The following June 28, 1878, he made his first vows, and his religious congregation, modeled after the love of the heart of Jesus, became the new means for him to realize his dream of uniting himself to the love of God, while sharing that love with others. The first person to join the community was his good friend, Father Alphonse Rasset, who like himself, had been looking for the support of a more spiritual environment in his pastoral ministry. Quickly, Father Rasset took charge of St. Joseph's Youth Club. The new congregation grew quickly. In the first 10 years, there were 60 professed members in the new religious community. After 20 years, there were 130, and on the 50th anniversary of its founding, the Congregation of the Priests of the Sacred Heart had almost 1,000 members. During his lifetime, Father Dehon saw his congregation expand to Belgium, Holland, Germany, Scandinavia, Italy, Africa, North and South America, and Indonesia. Unfortunately, the story of his religious congregation is not an unbroken series of successes and expansion. At the beginning of the 20th century, a hostile anti-Catholic government came to power in France and soon inaugurated a policy of confiscating church goods, closing down Catholic schools, and expelling religious congregations. A decade later, World War I broke out in Europe. Along with millions of other innocent victims, Father Dehon's congregation suffered economic hardship, the destruction of property, and the loss of scores of priests and brothers killed in the hostilities. Father Dehon frequently reminded his companions that the congregation was not founded to do one specific type of ministry. Rather, his dream was to bring the love of Christ to those people and places in society that were most neglected and abandoned, those who were in the greatest need of feeling the healing touch of his compassionate care. That remains the common ideal that unites the members of the congregation in the great diversity of their works. In July 1925, an epidemic of gastroenteritis raged in Brussels. Father Dehon was not afraid to go out to visit the sick people affected by the epidemic. He caught the disease himself, but did not change his way of life and was regularly at the community worship. On August 11 he had a heart attack, and on the following day towards the end, he stretched out his hand towards a portrait of the Sacred Heart, and exclaimed in a clear voice, "For him I lived, for him I die. He is my everything, my life, my death and my eternity." To his spiritual sons, the priests of the Sacred Heart, and to all those who see in Father Dehon a father and a guide for living out the gospel, according to the spirituality of the Sacred Heart, he left a written spiritual testament: "I leave you the greatest of all treasures, the heart of Jesus."